group. Help us to do your will, for we need you. We love you. We thank you. We're leaning and dependent on you. And we trust, oh God, that your word is alone by itself. And if we look to you today, throughout the other days, everything will be all right. Father, we ask these and all blessings. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, I've been informed that the microphones aren't working, so if you speak up when we're talking, folks can hear us in the audience. At this time, our first order of business is approval of renewal of resolution declaring a state of emergency due to COVID-19, dated March 17, 2020. Any questions, comments, or do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, motion approved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Trey.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. This time, item number 2, any business we have regarding COVID-19. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Kerry Walter from the microphone to give us an update. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners, thank you. I'll be brief in my comments. It's been a couple of weeks where I've had a chance to come visit with you, and I wanted to bring you up to date where we are with COVID. We, as of through today, we've had 5,316 total cases since we started back in March 26th of 2020. If you look at the active cases, we only have 34 active cases today in our community. We are seeing a trending with our numbers still have plateaued, but we're averaging about 3 to 4 cases a day over a 14-day period, and our positivity rate is below 5%. It's been averaging around 4%. So those are good indicators in our community that we're not seeing a widespread or a spike in numbers. I would advise you that I mentioned to you last time that we had 5 cases of the variant of the British UK variant of COVID. As of today, we've got a total of 8 cases. 2 of those are now the California strain or the California variant that we've seen in our community. Nothing to be alarmed about at this point. It's just a different strain of the virus that they have identified 2 cases to be the California strain. So we're keeping a watch on that to make sure that we don't see any type of explosion or spread among the variants, because some communities have been impacted by the variants and the spread. Right now our cases are trending where they need to be trending, and I certainly don't want to see an increase. We've vaccinated through the health department 10,201 people as of this afternoon. I was rushed to get here because we had a clinic today. And we will continue to vaccinate the rest of the month on first and second doses, but moving into May, we have streamlined our operation to where we will vaccinate on Tuesdays and Thursdays, first doses and second doses. As you can imagine, the demand for the vaccine has dwindled. It's not as strong as it once was. We still have plenty of vaccination spots. If anybody wants to be vaccinated, we'll be more than happy to accommodate you. Just as an example, we only did 48 first doses today. And on Thursday, right now, when I left, I asked what our schedule was. We've only got 15 people signed up for first doses. So the demand for the vaccine is beginning to demise. But what we're trying to do, we've partnered with the emergency management and our local EOC. This coming Thursday and Friday, we have some state resources that are coming to our community. We're going to have 4 clinics, vaccination clinics, going on simultaneously. We'll have a group out at Advent Christian Village to work with the Allen Park area. We'll be down in Branford at the Dollar General Market there. And then there will also be a team at Walmart on 129 North, and in the old Publix shopping center, there'll be a team there to try to boost our numbers. Right now, the 65 and older age group is about 54% vaccinated, and the governor would like to see all counties have at least 60% in that age bracket vaccinated. So we're trying to give a last-minute push to go out to some areas where folks might find it easier or more accessible to them. But we will be in Branford, Allen Park, and we'll have 2 teams here in Live Oak on Friday and Saturday. That's April the 30th and May the 1st from 8 to 5 both days. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. I just wanted to give you a brief update on where we were. We're still vaccinating. The demand has declined somewhat, but we're still available, and we encourage those that have not been vaccinated to give us a call, and we'll be happy to schedule you an appointment.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Walden. Commissioner Fleming.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
And it blew right off the top of my head. A week and a half ago, I was supposed to contact you, find out about people that's homebound, and they do want to be vaccinated. Is there a way that the health department go out to their homes?
It won't be through the health department, it'll be through the Division of Emergency Management. We can get you the telephone number or the web link or the access that they can call and have that scheduled. But the last information that we had through our meetings with the Department of Health was that the DEM would be spearheading that effort.
Okay. I'm not beating a dead horse, but I want to say this. I told you earlier how much we appreciate you in this county for what you do. And I really do. I was bragging about the health department too, for these individuals that are homebound. And I'd like to get that number so I can give it to them so they get it done. And one is an 84-year-old lady, and she has a daughter, and they want to have that shot. But I talked so much about the health department that they wasn't going to take the shot. Now they want to take a shot, get it done. And appreciate so much what you do as a director and what your staff do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I got a great team, and they work tirelessly and very hard through all this, and they do an excellent job. That's sure. And I appreciate y'all's support for what we're doing out there. It's been a long year and a half.
Any other questions for Mr. Walden? Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you, and I'll get you that number in the morning. Okay.
Okay.
Sir.
You got my number, right?
Yes.
Moving ahead to item 3, approval of subordination of county utility interest agreement with Florida Department of Transportation and adoption of Naval resolution. Mr. Harris, you got some comments on that?
That's just associated with the reconstruction of that bridge on 180th. DOT needs the utility easements. The county to sign off on those. That's what this is.
I have any other questions, comments, commissioners? Seeing none, I have a motion to approve. I have a motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I will open the floor to public comment. Do I have anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening? Seeing none, I will close the public comment at this time. We'll go to closing comments.
Mr. Chairman, could I, before we do closing comments, could I ask you to let me share some information with the board?
Yes, sir.
I just want to pass some information out because, and the reason for this is, in your next board meeting, I think we're going to need to discuss establishing some parameters for GSG. They can't just come up with 25 different scenarios of what the board might want to do with the level of services, the fire or solid waste. So I've got some information I'd like to share with you. I'll go with you very quickly. It's just general information. I know that Chief Hand has some information he's going to put together. But I think it's going to be helpful for everyone if we go ahead and establish some parameters in that board meeting. Because we talked about a lot of different scenarios, but we can't have them just run all over the place with that, particularly on fire. This information really is just what I call kind of snapshot information. We've already put together a proposed budget for next year because the company wants that. We put a lot of other information together, but I want to share this with you because it'll help you get a good feel for what's going on and you can formulate your own opinions on where we need to be. In any event, your current assessment is generating approximately $2 million a year. You know from the previous sheets that finance prepared, that's the second page on here, that we are running a deficit revenue versus expense of about $300,000 a year. There's a schedule in here then. Next item on there is for minimum wage. I had finance run this. You can see because a lot of your minimum wage impact is going to hit in the solid waste department. So you can see what that is going to result in over the next 5 years. And then the discussion of the transition of the collection sites. If you look at that next page, that next page has some other considerations that you can go through at your leisure, but if you go down the middle of the page, you'll see these are estimates on what it will cost to transition away from those dumpsters and get into the compactors and the 40-yard enclosed containers. In rough numbers, it's about $176,000 per site. I ran this doing 3 sites per year. It's spread out over 5 years. We have 14 sites. That's a total of $528,000 a year, plus your $300,000 that you're already running a deficit on, just to get you to even. And then you've got your, at the bottom you'll see the roll-off truck. That is not an annual expense. That's purchasing 2 trucks. And then as you get closer to your finishing up all of those sites, you might need a 3rd truck. But again, these trucks are considerably cheaper than the trucks that you're using today, the very expensive trucks that don't last any time. And then finally, your front page there, I listed this is actually the variance where it says contract disposal cost, see schedule, 5-year total. If you go to that last page, this is really what's driving the issue is the cost of disposing today of the solid waste. There's your new costs based on the modified numbers that you received the other day we got from Waste Management. These costs include transportation at the rates that they showed. We still are bidding the trucking. You've got your tons and then your yearly total and the cost at the current rate to compare your yearly totals with the new rates. $5.3 million difference over the next 5 years in additional expense for waste disposal. I'll tell you that I've already spoken to other counties. I've spoken to New River, I've spoken to representatives of Osceola, I've spoken to Columbia County. Based on numbers that I'm hearing so far, I don't know that your number is going to be significantly better than what you got from Waste Management, to be honest with you. I'm also waiting for our engineers, consultant engineers, to send us some information on building a landfill, if we want to consider that. So we're looking at everything. But in any event, like I said, this is nothing but a snapshot. It gives you some of the big ticket items to consider prior to your discussion next week. We've got a lot of exhaustive information if you have questions. But at least this will help you. And I know the Chief Hand's going to have some information for you as well. So hopefully in your next regular meeting we can decide where we think we need to go, and that'll help GSG as they're formulating their studies as well.
Mr. Harris, I have any questions for Mr. Harris?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner White.
Mr. Harris, I just wanted to see, I noticed over in Taylor County when I was over there the other day, they got those compactors on their sides, and they got like a ramp up where people pull up on top, and then they're sitting beside it, and they throw it off to the side.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing it that way, because you don't need to. All you have to do is, the compactors typically would have lanes of traffic going on both sides of them, one-way traffic going through your site. So you have the compactor sitting in the middle, and it's only, it might be this high right here. People come up on both sides. It has a large opening that's maybe 6 foot long and 5 foot wide or 6 foot wide, and they're throwing trash in it. There's a button on the end. The operator walks over, hits the button, that ram pushes all the trash into the container. There's no reason to build it up on the ramp. In fact, Personally, I think if you build it up on ramp, you incur more liability. But I've heard of that in some other locations.
Well, the actual compactor part of that deal is separate from the container itself.
Stationary.
Yeah.
You actually put them in there back to back, two of them, back to back, and you have two 40-yard enclosed containers on either side of those. So you're only operating one container at a time. Now, one of those containers will displace about 18 to 20 of your current dumpsters. When it gets filled, you shut that one down and open the other one. And then when you close your site, you pull that full container and drop another one in. So the compactors stay stationary. They're bolted to the concrete.
Like the ones in Madison, you and I would look at.
Very similar to that. Very similar.
So at each site, we'd only have these two containers. We wouldn't have all those other.
You wouldn't have all those dumpsters anymore. And those dumpsters and those front-load garbage trucks, that is the most expensive method of handling waste. Front-load garbage trucks and dumpsters. When you're dealing in high volume, that's what we're dealing with. So you can get rid of all those dumpsters and just put these things in. Your handling of it then becomes much more time efficient.
Would it be beneficial to direct haul at that point with our
I'm
trucks?
going to run some scenarios on that. I'm not sure yet. In fact, I thought about that when I put that note in here that says as we get these sites transitioned, if we do this, that we may need a third one, roll-off truck. So we could go to a stationing area, drop those containers, the trucks that are servicing the sites, and then just have one that's shuttling them, depending on where we end up going, just shuttling to that point. We'll just run the numbers and see what makes the best sense.
Well, at that point, I would assume that you would need a transfer station anymore if you had that.
That's true. That's true. If we can make the numbers work for us, and we're just hauling those enclosed containers, then you're right. We will need to continue to operate a transfer station.
I was just questioning.
I think the only problem you're going to have is we're not going to be able to start 100% with the compactors at one time, so we're going to be a 5-year transition that we're probably going to have a transfer station to
you'd be
put it
running both.
in.
You'd be running both. My thought is, again, you can pick any number of years, but I don't think we can do more than 3 years if we're trying to do them ourselves to save money. I mean, maybe we could, but I was trying to be conservative and say, let's spread it over 5 years, but you will need the trucks. You'll become less dependent on those expensive front-load trucks that just don't last good time.
It's $250,000 a piece.
Yeah, between 250 and 270.
What's disheartening is we're trying to do two things at once. If the rate wasn't changing, we would be doing this, and it would be easier to absorb. But now we're catching it on both sides.
And see, the other thing with your rates, I was looking, have I given you a copy of the old study that was done on the garbage?
I don't know.
Oh, it's interesting. When that was done and the rates were established at the time, we were running about half the volume of waste that we're running today. And we're running, I think maybe it was a total of 14,000 tons. And we're running operating about 32, 33 tons now. Next year it'll be about 35 tons. So we're running considerably more waste than we were handling then. And that isn't even speaking of all of the costs that have gone up since then as well. All the equipment and everything else, labor, insurance.
Have any other questions for Mr. Harris this time?
One quick question. On the annual assessment revenue, is that strictly the residential 130?
That's just the assessment.
130 per house? I forget the 16. What's the number of households?
14,000.
14 even?
It's actually 13,865 or something. And I'm glad you brought that up because I need to speak to that for just a minute. That's an issue that needs to be firmed up. And I think it's been a number of years since that's been done. we've been talking in the office about it, and the commission, I'm going to come to you with a recommendation. If we can talk to the property appraiser, and he would have to hire people, the board would have to pay for it. There is a history here in this county of hiring temps to go out and do a complete sweep of the county and figure out how many actual residential units are out there, because you may go to the property appraiser's website and it'll show one house. Go out there and there are people living in 2 more mobile homes that have been drug in. So there are 3 residential units out there. And you have to capture all of those residential units. The only way to do that is do a full sweep of the county. My understanding is that years ago it was done every 3 years. And the reason for that was that you could go back and reassess as far back as 3 years, but you could go further back than that. And that was being done with a different tax collector at the time was actually handling it. We've kind of got an interesting scenario of the way things are being done here today, and I'm not being critical of anyone, it's just different than some other counties, and other counties do things different anyway, and it's okay. But what we know that we don't have is an accurate number. And someone has to obtain that information, and I feel fairly confident without talking to the property appraiser or the tax collector that neither one of them have it in their budget to have people go out and do a full sweep of the entire county. So we're just going to have a conversation and figure out how we're going to accomplish that so that we know exactly how many units there are out there.
Gentlemen, unless you got something really important, I would ask that we discuss this further in the next meeting, because Commissioner Hill's out of town on some family business, and if you got something you really want to ask, we'll ask, but instead of having to talk about it twice or missing something, I really want him to. This is really important.
No, I'm not.
So,
I'm good. I'm just curious on the number.
no, I know we had some stuff.
Maybe more questions we can answer later. We're going to bring it up next week.
Right.
Let's go details of these two here.
Anything else you want to add, Mr. Harris? All right, seeing none at this time, we'll go. Mr. Fatt, you got something besides closing comments?
Well, maybe it is just a closing comment. The governor earlier this morning signed Executive Order 94, and we made the revisions accordingly for our LSC today. But I would note that in the last paragraph of his executive order, he talks about the manageable trends for COVID and how we're recovering financially. But the last statement is the state should prepare to resume non-emergency operations. So I want to put that out there to let you know that may not get the next one and be renewed after 60 days. So just keep that in mind.
So what you're saying is after 60 days, potentially we can go back to 2 a month.
Be back to regular operations after.
Yeah, we will be renewing.
Right. Right.
But with what he's saying, that overrides the federal requirements, if any. My question being, it's always been that's where the funds come from.
Yeah, but my understanding is this last Recovery Act, apparently they're making some exception to it, and it isn't being handled through FEMA anyway. I believe it's coming straight from the Treasury Department.
Mr. Pravat, make a note. Let's talk about that again next Tuesday. There again, Commissioner Hill's not here, and I want him to be up to speed on what we're discussing.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, Mr. Pravat?
No, sir.
Mr. Harris, closing comments.
Quick comment. I was kind of tracking the language to see if they were going to change it on this renewal thing and all these things all the time. My last read of that was that the best they could do is come up to 10 days. Every 10 days you have to renew, so there's no benefit to us if that's what they ended up with.
That's all you got.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner White.
I'll just remind you guys that the rock crusher is at the mine, and we're going to demo it tomorrow at 10. I'm not laughing at it coming soon, but you're more than welcome to come.
Thank you, sir.
Actually, if you have multiple commissioners down there, we have to have it
That's true. I didn't think of that.
I think we just put Commissioner White in charge of that.
Yeah, I just thought about that too. I plan to go down there. So,
And I'll be there.
yeah. But I just realized.
Everyone fine with Commissioner White representing? And you was planning on being there anyway? I'm not signing you up for something, but
I was going to be there anyway.
so he'll report back to us on Tuesday.
That's correct.
If that works for y'all fellas. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lane.
No, sir. I'm good.
Commissioner Fleming.
It's just good to be here, but I always like to recognize my constituents and seeing everybody else, but the one that live in District 2. Maurice Perkins, he's here today. And of course, Mr. Wiggins, like that, he owns property in the district. And he used that Columbia County address. He's a hometown boy, man. So we just keep it up there. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I say the same and welcome, gentlemen. Glad y'all are interested in being involved in county business. I mean, that's what it's about. We need more folks like you gentlemen to come and understand exactly how it goes. I mean, that's how you make good decisions, is to be involved and understand everything that goes on, not just what you read about. We appreciate you. This time, I have no further comments and just need a motion to adjourn. Have a motion by Commissioner Land, second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor say aye. Aye.